show. So we'll have folks come online, and I'll do a little bit of Twitter work here to get them all excited. Sherwin, you're going to have to take over the
talking portion of this thing.
Yep. I'm doing all this.
Yeah. So, Chris, one of the reasons why timing was of such an importance is that we do a live video feed, and there are actually people, believe it or not, who watch it like a television show. So that's why.
That's good.
Yeah, that's why timing is kind of weird. We've been doing that for a long time. I think we started doing the Periscope around episode, I want to call it maybe 25.
Something like that, yeah.
So we kind of have developed a little bit of a appointment audience, which is cool, obviously. So, yeah that's why it was like weird with the timing.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And if you guys want to ask or have fans ask questions while I'm on tonight, we can definitely do that too.
Absolutely, yeah. We usually have some folks that'll.
We've got some in the notes already that we solicited, over the past 4 or 5 days. But one of the advantages of the live video feed is that YouTube has a comment section.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So that'll happen, and we try to pay attention to it enough that if something really grabs our attention, we'll interrupt and shoot it in there.
Right.
Great. No.
The only thing we'll kind of set you up for, we do usually the podcast is always pretty low. I won't call it lowbrow. It's not lowbrow at all. It's
relaxed.
Relaxed is the way we do it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
We're here to have fun. We're not delivering the news, although we fortunately do have some breaking news to talk about today.
Guys, it's all good. I'm as you guys can see, I'm pretty easy and laid back going too. So
hell yeah. So
cool.
That's why we among the reasons that we reached out and said, hey, this is a cool guy. So
yeah, we've had some of your friends on, so we knew we know you keep good company.
Yeah,
that's right.
Let's see. All right, so we got some folks on. Rich, Mick, Ashley. What's up, Ashley? We got Mr. Chris Knight on with us. We'll be starting here very shortly, as a matter of fact. Twice in a row.
Go ahead and start.
Let me go ahead and get a sound check there. That looks good. Sherwin.
Yep,
you're looking good. Chris, you mind saying something?
What's up?
Perfect. Hey, you're getting some props in the comments section already. Julie B. Hey, Nighter.
I'm awesome. Signed in.
Ashley. Hey, Chris. So
that's funny.
People excited to see you.
You guys tweet something out or retweet it?
I think I tweeted something out.
I'll put together. It's going to hit automatically, right? Because the YouTube.
No, I do that.
Oh, you do that.
There it is.
Yeah. You see it now?
Yeah.
All right. So for the show flow, we just start off kind of doing all this sort of intro stuff and song and dance and whatnot.
Act like
fools. And then we'll announce you and then bring you on and say, hey, what you doing? How's it going? What I was trying to get at, one of the first things we'll do is just kind of, we always start with what you drinking. So just as a warning there, we have that. We don't expect anybody to have alcoholic beverages in their hand necessarily, but if you got something fun, or if it's a glass of water, or if it's nothing, we just like
water is the most common response.
Yep.
By the way,
that's what I got. Dasani.
Perfect. All right, so the
repping that Coke.
Yeah, the pre-show people.
Atlanta.
Yeah, digging it. And then just kind of going over what happened last week, what's happening next week. We do this little driver section where we're talking about the car number that corresponds with the episode number we have. And like I said, I'll keep an eye on time, and as we're getting closer, we'll do sort of the closeout segment there, and make sure you get out of here. So.
And if you do want to send us a silent indicator via email, I'll see it happen because I have
I'll just direct message you guys on Twitter.
Perfect.
Either one.
Yep. Either way you want to do it, whatever way, we're all good. Stacy says she's got a drink. Rich is grabbing him a drink. Yep, get you some. All right. Sherwin, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Chris, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. And we're recording sound. Oh, let me make sure I got the theme song ready to go. All right, we're ready to go. There's recording that. And there's recording. The PETM podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PETM and join the What You Drinking Club for as little as $1 a month and get that free koozie, y'all. Best part is every cent in 2017, we're donating it to sponsoring drivers. So join the PETM posse today and be a part of the sport that you love. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. Catherine Kingston, Ashley Stang, Jeffrey Whitler, Mark Wiley, Craig Smulders, Rick Hamacher, Lori Sutton, Mick Rose, Tony Salt, Colby McClam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Kiefer, Marion Levesque, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown. Let's do this. Hey, welcome y'all. That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 101 for Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm joining the PETM Podcast studio with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
So this is going to be a fun episode. We've got a really nice guy joining us. We have some very interesting news that dropped today at like 4:15, so that's going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Going to get deep into some normal PETM type subject matters and segments like we normally do, despite the fact that all we did was All-Star Race last weekend.
True. Got all kinds of stuff to talk about. We got a great guy to talk about him with. Without further ado, let's bring him on. Tonight's guest is NASCAR beat reporter for Catch Fence, stringer for the NASCAR Wire Service, frequent guest at the Tweet Ups, and all around, good guy. You can catch him on Twitter at Niter01. It is Chris Knight. What's up, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Dude, it's a pleasure to have you here. We're excited to get going tonight and talk about some All-Star racing. The first thing we always start with, and Chris, I know you're a first-time guest on the show here, we get chided and we get shamed if we don't ask our guest every time now, what you drinking?
Well, so I am a Coca-Cola fan, so I have the Dasani 20-ounce bottle of water. That's my go-to drink for right now.
There you go.
Getting hydrated,
and once again, our most popular drink on the podcast right there.
Water. So. Well, this is the first time I've heard one identified as Atlanta product.
Yeah,
Coca-Cola product.
A little Atlanta
Dasani.
pride right there. That's right.
That's good.
That's right. Sure. What'd you
get
bring?
Score one for the home team.
Yeah. What'd you bring today?
So I got this the other day in preparation for this podcast because I love this. I love this beer company out in San Diego. The Green Flash Imperial IPA.
Well done.
It's probably a lot. It's one of those big bottles.
Looks tasty. I'm drinking on this Sweetwater, local folks, Cool Breeze Cucumber Saison. Now this thing's
what in the world?
Whew, it's a far cry from our normal IPAs and stuff. It's got a little bit of that Belgian-y yeasty stuff in it, and it's okay, I guess. So I'm not going to beat up on the local boys. Good for them for trying it. It's kind of a summer beer. It is what it is. So fun stuff. We'll get going here in a minute, but we're going to talk about some drivers. Sherwin, you ready for this?
Yes.
It is.
I'm very ready for this. I'm curious.
PETM 101, so let's talk about that number one car. This is one of those cars where, Chris, I imagine with you being in NASCAR and reporting on it for so long and everything, you could probably I bet you can name 20 cars, 20 drivers off the top of your head that's driven the one car, huh?
For sure. Well, in which series?
Exactly.
Yeah, right?
I can name 3.
Go for it.
Current driver, Jamie McMurray.
Yeah.
Most recent before him, Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah. By the way, Jamie Mack, 4 wins in the one.
And the most recent before Martin was Steve Park, I believe.
Ooh, Steve Park, 152 races with 2 wins. Good pull on that. Rick Mast.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say Rick Mast is obviously a popular one.
So,
Bandit car. And how about Morgan Shepherd when he drove the Delco Remy Pontiac?
Morgan
Yes,
Shepherd
sir.
in the Pontiac. Love it. Here's some crazy ones. So you said Steve Park, 152 races, 2 wins. Paul Lewis, 71 races, 1 win. Donnie Allison, 61 races and 4 wins for Donnie.
Oh, in the Hawaiian Punch.
In the number one. Yeah. Old school cool right there. Billy Wade, 32 races, 4 wins. David Pearson, 10 races, 1 win in the number one car. Quick trivia, because I always like to do this for at least one guy. Rick Mast, he was a stunt double in Days of Thunder.
Not surprising.
Not at all with that kind of deal. Stunt double in Rowdy Burns' car for scenes for all the scenes that were shot at Daytona, and that footage was shot during qualifying and during the duels. So pretty cool stuff. And while we're on it, driver number 01. I don't have a whole lot for this, but I've got 2 celebrity 01s. First off, Front Row Joe.
I was going to say, Joe, need to check.
Front Row Joe. 112 races, 1 win. Bo Duke.
Yes.
01 car.
As it turns out, Duke's a hazard.
Yeah. Chris, you a big Dukes fan?
Negative.
Well, so we grew up pretty much in it. Now, I mean, we were very young when the show finished recording, but most of that show was recorded in Covington, Georgia, and in Pike County, Georgia, which is like right around where Rusty and I grew up. So it was kind of like a mainstay.
Yeah.
Let's ignore what was on the roof of the car.
Yeah.
Now, when I think of the 01, I kind of go back to the old days, back to Jim Engelbrett when he ran the Jelly Belly car. Remember the Jelly Belly car?
Jelly Belly car.
Wow.
That's digging deep. I love it.
That's deep. That's deeper than we go. Our hole's not that deep. Which is cool.
When I think about 01, I think obviously you think about John Nemechek and the Bell South car. He had that for a long time, but then I think about when they were competing out west, and I think Jim he used it in the Truck Series, and I know he definitely used it in the Midwest and the Southeast and Southwest Series tours. But I think about that, and I remember going to the racetrack one time and seeing that Jelly Belly car with the I think he used the 01 and even used the 1 on occasion. So that's what I think about, man. I kind of like this segment.
Excellent. Yeah. You can come and throw us trivia anytime you want. I love it. Hey, one other 01. He's known on Twitter at Niter01.
That's
is right here with us.
Turns out.
Is there Chris? Is there a meaning behind that one, or was it just I need some numbers?
No, it actually is. It's the year I graduated high school.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Cool.
Perfect.
So
that puts us
I don't know why. I don't know. I guess I don't know why I picked 01. I just kind of went with it. So it was available, so I kind of went with it. So
perfect. Well,
it's become it's become a staple. So, and everybody seems to like it. So I don't get a lot of flack for it. So I'll roll with it.
I'm digging it. And Sherwin, that makes us kind of 1, 2, 3, right? You were 99.
Yes.
I was
99
aughts, and Chris Knight here on 01. So there we go. We're representing 3 classes in a row there. We need a freshman in that class that we can make fun of.
Right.
Well, that brings us to our tearing it down segment. We got some stuff to talk about over there on the Charlotte Motor Speedway side. Let's see if I can bring that in. There it is. I tried to do it, and I had the volume all the way down. I'm a moron. Whatever. All-Star Race. Break it down for us, Chris. What's your thoughts? I know there's some pretty strong opinions out there. I'd love to get yours to kick us off.
Yeah, so here's the thing, guys. I covered the Truck Series race on Friday night for CatchFence.com. And then I snuck away to Toledo Speedway and went and took care of some responsibilities for the ARCA race at Toledo. But I was very much involved in speaking with my friends back in Charlotte and watching the race myself on TV. I like what I saw out of the Monster Energy Open during the day. I think you had guys, Chase Elliott, Clint Boyer, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon, Danica Patrick. The list goes on and on. You had drivers fighting to get into the big show. And that was some great racing. I thought Eric Jones trying to do the pass in the grass, and obviously if he had pulled that off, that would have been one of the best moves that we've seen so far in 2017. But once we got into the big show, I applaud NASCAR for going outside the box and trying to make this event more lively and more interactive and just generally more exciting. But I just didn't think I got what I was looking for on Saturday night. I felt like the race was a flop. Very little passing. I know Kyle Busch did a great job there at the end, and Keselowski, because of a mix-up, had to stay out for that last stage. But overall, guys, I wasn't really impressed with what I saw in the All-Star race. I don't, you like to think they call it, there's a 25th year anniversary of One Hot Night, and guys, the only way you're going to go back to having one hot night is go back to 1992. The cars are just so different right now, and aero means so much. And if you're just that first car out there, and you're that second car chasing that first car down, you're going to get behind them, and that air is just going to hit a wall, and it's going to be very difficult to pass. And that's what we saw on Saturday night. So, my take is that I'm ready to see the All-Star race travel around. I'm ready to see it go to Bristol, Atlanta, Darlington, Talladega. I'm ready to see the All-Star race move around like we see happen in the Super Bowl and the World Series. And let's give some other venues an opportunity to put on some great racing for the race fans.
Yeah, Sherwin, is this the death of the All-Star race as it is right now and in this venue?
No, we already know it's not, and we're going to cover that later.
Oh, darn.
But I agree. Your assessment from a fan perspective is pretty much 100% spot on. The Open was the far more exciting race. There was way more chances taken. I think we saw Danica finally get to exert some frustration with the way Trevor Bayne has raced her for 3 years. And he made the most spectacular save you could if you weren't Ryan Newman in the qualifying rounds. That was a pretty sweet drift.
Yeah.
I think, the race itself, the All-Star race for all the money that's supposed to be a big deal was absolutely a dud.
Yeah.
So we got to go back and, we know it's going to be at Charlotte next year. Mm-hmm. We don't know what the format is. That's where they could really get, excited. Kenny Wallace was tweeting like a crazy man, like he does, about how he wants the All-Star race next year, if it's going to be at Charlotte, to include as many different of the tracks that are in the area as segments. He's like, let's drag race, let's roval, let's run the oval, and then let's finish on the dirt track.
I love it.
Logistics might be an issue, but I don't know. Fans might like it if it was like an 8-hour show.
Why not? Why not? Tune in, tune out, whatever you got to do. It's like Chris Knight has just read our show notes there, where it says open stages had some risky behavior that was pretty fun, pretty good to watch. I don't know if that pass in the grass was intentional as it looked.
He admitted that he didn't know, he could not see the transition, but he knew that was his moment to pass.
Yeah.
And if we were running valences like when Dale Earnhardt maintained his lead against Bill.
Maintained his lead, not Pat. Yeah.
The lead maintained in the grass. That may have been different.
Yeah. That splitter, that just blam. Immediate. You see that whole front quarter panel just
like dropping a plow.
Yeah, no kidding. And like you said, and right here in the show notes, All-Star race, bit of a stinker there. There was a late-ish. I think, what did they say? There was 2 green flag changes for the lead, passes for the lead, it was an absurdly low number.
I
that
would
I
believe
try
it.
To make up. Yeah. So it's just, you can't have that. You got to throw something in there, and this is the time to throw something just crazy, oddball. Just way out from left field. And I think everybody's ready for it. Like you said, we do know it's going to be in Charlotte, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it is what it is there. So,
well. Here's the thing. When was the last time that you guys remember that we had an All-Star race where everybody was leaving and jumping up and down and saying, man, I was so glad I was there for that? I can't remember the last time that happened. Maybe I think the last time I watched it on TV, I was still, in my early teens, and that was probably 90, remember 94, 95, 96, 97? They were very, very entertaining to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I just can't remember an All-Star race where I walked around and I had a good discussion with Jeff Burton about it, and Jeff Burton's a friend of mine, and he was also in Toledo to watch his son, who actually won the ARCA race there, and he agreed with me that it's time to see this venue move on, and you're just not going to get what you're looking for out of Charlotte, no matter how you slice it or dice it or try to spice it up. It's just not enough, and I think why I think it was a good idea to eliminate cars. Man, I just don't think I want to go. You had 10 cars left in that final stage, and I just don't think that was enough to create drama. And I just wasn't real happy. A for effort for NASCAR, but on execution, D minus.
Yeah,
I wasn't happy.
I think what we're realizing is it doesn't matter what rule set you throw at this thing. We talked about it last week. We had the celebrity opening up an envelope last year, and Darryl Waltrip is confused, and everybody else is confused. They're trying to explain this thing. Brad Keselowski's brainchild deal. They're doing all, different tires, pick your tire this year and stuff. As long as this race is run with these cars on this 1.5 mile track, this is what you're going to get, is what it seems like.
Pretty much. I think that's spot on. I would say your grading is probably so one of the things we didn't do early in our podcasting career, Chris, is give NASCAR credit for when they actually do make changes, because they don't necessarily know what's going to happen. Now, we go back and give them maybe a bad grade because something should have been predictable. What's predictable at Charlotte at night right now is that these cars' track position is more important than anything else. Mm. So lead changes are going to be at a premium. Mm-hmm. And that's not what gets NASCAR fans fired up. In response to your question, Chris, about when was the last time you saw an all-star race that really got you fired up, I said, well, one, for personal reasons, because the guy that we root for won it. The other one was when the Bush brothers took each other out. Because you knew there was going to be fireworks after that.
Right. And grandma had to sit them down and say, look, boys, we're family. You remember that? I mean, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And tying into that, just a quick anecdote. I listened to Dale Jr.'s podcast today. He talked about how he and Kyle are kind of like, they used to hate each other and now they're friends, and that whole him getting out of the 5 and Junior getting in what became the 88 and all that stuff. It was interesting. I would implore people that are listening to us now or watching to listen to Dale Jr.'s download this week, because it was really kind of insightful about his relationship with Kyle Busch.
Yeah. So we have some y'all go listen to that. In the meantime, we have some questions from the PTM posse here. NASCAR Live IT at NASCAR Live ITA. This is going to take me a minute.
This is Gabriel, our friend from Italy.
Yeah, Mr. Italy. Chris, this one, we'll let you take this one away. It's really the Austin Dillon crisis, as he's calling it. Before this season, he thought he was the man. He could bring RCR back after the drought. It's been 11 races. He's 22nd standings. He's behind all the rookies and stuff. No top 10s. Newman won at Phoenix, and even when he races in Xfinity, he doesn't seem to be making much of a difference. And now Slugger Labby's leaving RCR. What's going on here? I think that's a great question, too.
Austin Dillon had a lot of momentum last year, and obviously he had some good performances. And I really thought, like Dale Earnhardt Jr. did, that this combination between he and Slugger Labby would work to their advantage. And so far through 11 races, we have to remember that Austin does have a top 5 finish earlier this season at Martinsville, which is one of his best racetracks in his career. So he does have some good to look at for 2017, but most of it has been not what he has been hoping for. And obviously, they decided earlier this week to part ways. Slugger Labby left Richard Childress Racing to pursue other opportunities. And so Jason Alexander will get the nod this weekend starting at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But the bottom line is Austin Dillon knows that he's not performing up to his capabilities. He knows he is a capable driver of winning. We saw that at times last year. We thought that Austin Dillon was going to get RCR back in victory lane. I would have put money on it that Austin Dillon would have got RCR back in victory lane before Ryan Newman did. But in a year where the cars are transitioning, you have to have everything work so good in order to be a contender. And I think when you look at the teams as a whole, I talked to Clint Boyer about this, and he says that all the mid-pack teams, they've gotten better. And Paul Menard was another one, Austin Dillon's teammate. The teams that were running 25th are now running 20th this year. And the teams that were running 20th are now running 15th every year. So the sport is continuing to evolve, and they're behind right now. The 3 team is behind. But there's a drive. If Austin Dillon is the Austin Dillon that I know and see every week, he's not going to give up. And I think that we'll see how the new crew chief, I'm a little apprehensive to see how Justin Alexander will fit in and do over there. He didn't work very well with Paul Menard. They didn't get the results they were looking for, and they removed him from that position. But now he's getting an opportunity to do it again in the Cup Series. And so I don't think you can base, NASCAR's longest race off their performance this year. I think you're going to have to get into the meat and potatoes of the schedule here coming up to see how this new relationship is working. But the time is now for them to get that train back on the track. Because of what we're hearing for 2018, I think it's going to shock some people.
Sherwin, I think we need to start awarding like a best well-said point of the podcast. And today it goes to Chris Knight vis-a-vis Clint Boyer there, which I think that's a very good and observant point that I had to think about for a second there, and I might have missed the last thing Chris said because I was like, whoa, wait a second. All the 25th guys are now finishing 20th. All the 20th place guys finishing 15th. That's huge. That's a big deal, you know?
It's a big jump in overall performance. Chris, I don't know if this is known in amongst the media community, but is this a Slugger Labby decision or was this an RCR decision?
So that is the $1 million question.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
And we're a $2 podcast.
Both sides are so hushed on the situation. But here's the thing, guys. Where did we really start to see an issue with this? Where did we really start to see things go down from Austin Dillon and Slugger Labby? Remember, we went to Richmond International Raceway last month, and he showed up without Slugger Labby there. The team issued a statement, and that Slugger Labby was at home working on the Talladega cars. But if you guys remember from the prior week before, Austin Dillon had major tech violations, and he wound up not only losing his practice time, but he also lost his pit selection time, and he had to start the race from the rear of the field. So that was like, I think something happened where just whatever happened at Bristol and they couldn't get the car through tech 5 times, I think it was. I really think that was the beginning of the end, and obviously things didn't get it better over the last couple of weeks, and they just decided that, you know, they're 11 races in, and they're trying to get Austin back into chase playoff contention, and the time was to make the change was now rather than later.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't know.
You see it happen with sometimes managers or coaches at the college football level, managers at the baseball level. You don't really see it a lot in football, though it will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, it happened to Atlanta Braves manager last year.
True.
Right about this time.
True.
They were like 9-24, and they're like, "See you, dude. We got to try something different."
We're done. So I'm not.
Go
ahead.
You know, the sponsors are requiring this stuff to happen. You know what I'm saying? The sponsors want performance, and Richard Childress Racing. I won't say that they're desperate, but they need to do what they can to keep their sponsors happy. And with that organization being they're starving for some good finishes this year. And I think, for the investment that Dow and the other companies that support the 3 team, they're not getting what they're looking for. And so at some point, you can't just shuffle Austin Dillon out of the seat. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you got to start working around the place, whether it's the crew chief is usually the first person to go, and then you start working internally within the organization. Sometimes the driver is the last thing to go. Back, 10, 15, 20 years ago, the driver was the first thing to go.
Yeah.
And it's not no more. So you're just going to have to work around, and we'll see what happens. I really think that, if I was RC, I would put somebody like Nick Harrison with Austin Dillon, because I think the two work very well together. But they decided to give Justin Alexander an opportunity, and I say, have at it. He deserves a second opportunity. Just because he doesn't work well with Paul Menard doesn't mean he's not going to work well with Austin Dillon. So let's give it a couple races and see where they have. But I'm going to say they need to fix this problem sooner rather than later.
Well, I think one of the things we've heard over and over and over is that the relationship between the driver and the crew chief is so important, because they have to trust what each other is saying. The crew chief has to trust that the driver is trying to find the razor's edge.
This is Tommy Joe last week.
Yeah, and the driver has to trust that the crew chief is making decisions based on the data he's providing. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, it's always better when marquee cars do well on marquee teams. So it would be better for NASCAR if Austin Dillon won a race. So let's see if they can make it happen.
Yeah. So
it would not be better for NASCAR, but it'd be big for RCR. It'd be huge for RCR.
Well, it'd be certainly bigger for them, but the number 3 in victory lane is going to be one of those rising tides lifts all ships kind of moment.
Yeah. Or gets a lot of people real upset again. Who knows? But Moving on, Mick Rose at GoDucks42 _ Mick. Really, Chris, I'd like to get your opinion on the resin, or the boogers as we call it, to the high groove for the 600. You think that's going to improve the racing? You think that's a good idea, bad idea, or indifferent?
Well, here's the thing that the VHT that they're going to put in the top groove. I'm all for it. What do we got to lose? Let's give it a shot and see what it does. The racing can't get any worse, right? I mean, and we need to have an exciting race. No disrespect to Martin Truex and Furniture Racing for what they did, but they led 392 of the 400 laps last year in the Coca-Cola 600. NASCAR at this time, when stage racing is proving to be so pivotal and really the answer to the questions to make NASCAR racing more exciting, they can't afford to have what happened last year happen again this year, and that's no disrespect to the team or what Martin Truex did. I think what they accomplished last year happens once every 5, 6, maybe 5 every 10 years. But this VHT, if they can put it down and it can produce its magic like we seem to do at Bristol in the past, I'm all for it. I'm just going to be curious to see how it works on a mile and a half compared to a half mile like Bristol Motor Speedway. Just because it worked at Bristol Motor Speedway doesn't mean it's going to work at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It could, but I guess that remains to be seen.
Yeah, well, and I'd say at Bristol we put it down mainly to gain grip on the left side of the car, where we know the weight is shifted as much as possible. At a faster track like at Charlotte, I wonder, are right side tires going to be on this? Is it going to potentially heat to the point where it becomes greasier than it does, stick 'em? So, yeah. And I'd like to say, because I said this last week, I think, and I'll say it again or whenever we discuss it, Martin Truex put a country ass whooping on the field last year.
Yeah, he did.
And that's awesome for Martin Truex and his team, but it is definitely not good overall for NASCAR.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And good for his fans and stuff. Chris, you're getting some props from the guy who asked the question himself. Mick Rose says, can't be worse. Seems to be the best answer there.
Well, here's the thing that here's the thing that I'm concerned about, okay? We know that Charlotte Motor Speedway provides great racing during the day, but this Coca-Cola 600, well, it starts in the day, it transitions into the night. So if they're going to have to work hard to keep that VHT worked in throughout the whole race, and if that VHT wears off during the night, what kind of racing is that going to produce? I don't know. And obviously, NASCAR going from 3 stages to 4 stages, I applaud the decision. I like the decision. I don't care about the noise and the ruckus about people saying, well, NASCAR shouldn't have added it. Who cares? Things happen all the time. NASCAR is doing what they can to let's face it, NASCAR is an entertainment sport. And when you ask people to sit down in front of a TV or in front of the track for 4 hours, it has to be entertaining. And I think adding a 4th stage for the longest race of the season was fine by me, and I think people will wind up coming. The people that said they were disappointed in that decision, they'll come back and saying, thank you, NASCAR, for doing that. So we'll see. This VHT stuff, I like the idea of trying it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. pointed out that they laid it down on the track last weekend, but it was power sprayed off last weekend before the All-Star race. I want to know why. Why did they try it in the All-Star race to see what it would do? It didn't have, it could have made that All-Star race more exciting too. So just a lot of unanswered questions. We'll see what happens on Thursday. We'll see if it makes an effect for qualifying. Remember, we qualified under the lights at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Thursday, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, I think one of the more interesting things that Junior said was, well, they put it down in the low line. It's like the low line's already the fastest line.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know what the thought process was there. It's obvious they didn't think they had made a good decision, so they pressure washed it off. But why would you try to make the bottom faster at a place where the bottom's already faster?
Yeah. It's scratch your head sort of thing. I mean, I did it on the bottom of Bristol, do it at the top over Charlotte, see what happens.
But Bristol,
I like the idea.
the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the slower areas, so they're speeding it up or getting the grip. Before we move on, we've got kind of breaking news, Sherwin.
We did have some breaking news today. About 4:15 is when I saw it.
About 4:15, NASCAR has released the 2018 schedule. What's the big Chris? Have you been able to sort of digest it, and what's the big surprises?
Well, I like ending the regular season at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What NASCAR does to the cars is going to be remain to be seen. I think my sources are telling me that NASCAR is going to keep an eye on the Xfinity Series race and them running restrictor plates on those Xfinity Series cars to see what kind of race that provides. But I like the regular season ending in Indy, Chicagoland Speedway getting pushed back to the end of June or early July. Richmond being in the chase, you gotta love that. The Charlotte Motor Speedway fall race no longer going to be an oval; it's going to be a roval. So you're going to have 130 laps on an oval and a road course. So all these changes are based upon what the fans want, and I think you're going to open up the season instead of in the Windy City. You're going to open up in Las Vegas, where things can get, where you can take a gamble. And obviously, I like the changes. The Xfinity Series, I think the schedule looks pretty decent over there. Not many changes. I mean, obviously you'll see, their chase will obviously open up with with Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But I think, they get an off weekend in June, which is pretty good for them. But the Truck Series, their playoff will start on Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and their regular season will end I believe at Bristol Motor Speedway. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think a lot of people are excited. The fans have craved for the last couple of years for NASCAR to revamp the schedule, and I think they've done a good job of doing that. We'll see what happens.
Trucks ending at Bristol on a Wednesday night in August. That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, why not? Sherwin, how about you? What do you like? What do you hate?
So I don't hate anything.
Yeah.
I like that they swapped Indy and Chicagoland just to see what that might do.
I do too. Because Indy has that prestige too. So you have the prestige, and it's the last race of the regular season. I like that.
Well, and so it feels.
And the
like
weather's going to be better for both.
Good point. Weather will be better for both.
The weather will certainly be better. Call it a misgiving as opposed to a hate or a dislike, is that they'll be competing with the NFL that weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they did it, because, it's not that Indianapolis doesn't have its own NFL team. They do, obviously. It's a different market than Chicago, so maybe that changes things. But normally that weekend was actually Richmond's. So I think moving Richmond into the chase is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think kicking off the chase in Las Vegas is a pretty neat idea.
Yeah, I like that.
I hate it for the folks that are up in New England that really only had New Hampshire as their place to go watch NASCAR, but I think most of them would agree, maybe off mic, maybe some on, that whatever NASCAR's done to these cars the last 5 years has made New Hampshire suck.
Yeah,
which sucks, because
that's
that was number one on my bucket
tough
list in terms of getting on an airplane, because the region is so interesting. There are other things to do while you're there.
Right.
The weather is fantastic in September.
Yeah.
Even in June, the same. So it's like, damn, I hate it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. The only disappointment really for me personal is I believe Atlanta was brought back into February.
Not just brought back into February.
Brought deep.
This year the weather was nice in February. So
no, it wasn't. It was March 5th.
Yeah, it was March 5th that they did it, and we that's a time in Atlanta we've talked about on the podcast so many times, and we talked about it with the president Ed Clark himself of Atlanta Motor Speedway on the podcast, and it's such a dicey time. If you remember, Sherwin, the weekend after Atlanta Motor Speedway, because we live right here, it was cold. It was like in the 30s again.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have camped. And we did camp. We had a blast camping.
We did.
It was
we
great.
After 2 previous years of hotel.
For the weather.
Yeah, race day weather was great the past 2 years, without a doubt.
Yep.
I'm not, I know what you guys are saying. I hear what you guys are saying. That, the season going back, starting on the President's Day. Look, guys, we don't have to deal with this till 2018. So
true, but I guess I don't understand why we can't take the West Coast swing after Daytona.
Yeah, take it there.
Give a 3-week break. Because I actually did a lot of research on this when I decided to get super pissed at Atlanta Motor Speedway and behave like an a-hole on Twitter that ultimately led to me having a personal phone call with Ed Clark, which all worked out good in the end. I did the research. I looked at the average temperatures for Phoenix, Sonoma, and Fontana. They're all 15 to 20 degrees higher than the average temperature in Atlanta that time of year. It just doesn't make any sense.
We just get so bummed out because of the whole camping thing. That's what we want to do. We want to camp. We want to,
and we want a tent camp. We don't have conditioned air.
Yeah. or heated air in that case.
Well, conditioned.
Yeah. Well, good point. So
it's a valid point you guys are bringing up. I mean, we're either going to have a 40 or 50 degree day, or we're going to have a blizzard. I don't think there's any in between. You're rolling the dice when you start the season that early.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's true.
We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. But I will say it this way: I think I still would rather have the race in mid to late February than not have Atlanta Motor Speedway in the schedule at all.
Well, yeah.
Well, so
for the home trackers here.
Thankfully, we don't have to bet on that outcome. As far as we've been told behind the scenes that Atlanta not being a part of the circuit is not going to be a thing.
As long as Bruton owns it, I don't think.
They got 10 years.
Yeah.
Or I guess 8 now, including this year. So 7 more years because of the TV contract that Atlanta will definitely have a race. There's only 2 more years, I believe, where it has to stay in the region it is in terms of date. So we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm. So I know, Mr. Niter, his time is short with us. We appreciate you being on so much, but before we let you go, we got to throw you the Strange with Stang question.
The strangest thing.
Ashley J. Stang sends us a question every week. It's always a little crazy, a little off the wall.
And she's very complimentary of you, by the way.
Yeah.
I miss her. I wish she was around more. Her and her husband, they're good people, and I know that they ran some ARCA Racing Series races and some NASCAR Gain and E Series, and definitely miss her and John being around the scene. But so I guess right before we get into that, though, I want to talk about something that kind of broke yesterday. That's kind of been swept under the rug real quick, and I would like your guys' thoughts on it. We can talk about it too. Is definitely the sudden closure of Red Horse Racing in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Here, guys, this is a powerhouse 2-truck team with Brett Moffitt and Timothy Peters and Tom DeLoach, a former Mobil Exxon executive who's poured his heart and soul into this team for 13-plus years, deciding yesterday just to close up shop after the team had a 5th-place finish this past weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I find the timing intriguing and somewhat odd, but it comes down to the point where I totally understand if Tom DeLoach, who I have the utmost respect for, I think he's one of the most respected owners in that NASCAR Camping World Truck Series garage. And if he says I'm on a bridge that has no that I'm not sure I can continue to cross, I understand why he decided that he needed to fold up his team, but it's definitely causing me to concern to think about and really justifying some potential concern lying ahead for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series.
So first off, don't be too nice to Ashley. She might, get a little head on her shoulder. Just right. Ashley. No, but
I thought we put the helium bottle away after we had the orange cone on.
No, it's all good. That's funny. Here's my thing. You just talked. You hit 2 big names in truck races. You talked about Brett Moffitt. You talked about Timothy Peters. Those are championship caliber drivers. And what we have learned over the last couple of years between what the Camping World Truck Series drivers that we've had on here, team owners, you read about like what Brad Keselowski and folks like that say, is if you want to be a championship caliber driver or team in the truck series, you have to be willing to essentially donate $2 million a year. And so it's not surprising to me, but it sucks. It really sucks. But it's hard to be surprised until they make it a series that is, that makes sense money wise. I mean, we saw Tommy Joe move from trucks to Xfinity, and he says he wants a race truck
and proclaim very loudly that they would prefer to be a truck series team. The cost model doesn't work. I almost tweeted this out on Friday, but I decided, you know what, I don't really want to send a negative tweet because I love the trucks.
Yep.
But in my mind, what I had written and then deleted was, it boggles my mind that, a driver as good and as good a person as Timothy Peters is driving a blank car or a truck. That's just weird to me. I don't understand why. Why doesn't a company want to be a part of something where they know they have a chance to win?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll step in real quick. And I'm going to spend my time a little bit with you guys to talk about this because I think it's an important subject and it's very important to me, and I want to talk about it because it's something that I hope that NASCAR is listening and is taking into realization. I don't know this for a fact, but this is just what I've been told by people who are very close to the walls there at Red Horse Racing, is that the team had a certain amount that they needed to have as far as sponsorship, and if they didn't get that amount, they weren't interested in having that sponsorship come through the door. If that's the case, fine, I respect that. That's Tom DeLoach's team. He's the owner. He can do what he wants. But for me, if I was the owner, I'd rather, and if that was true, that's fine. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's just speculation among the people that I've been told very close to those walls. But if it was me, I'd rather take a $30,000 or $40,000 sponsor and cut some of my costs out of the racing than not have anybody else on that truck at all. But with that being said, this model, NASCAR's got to go back to the drawing board. And there's some speculation that we could see the Ilmore engine or an engine, a crate type engine like we've seen in the ARCA Racing Series, which has dramatically reduced the cost for those competitors to compete in that series. And I think it's really helped that series get back on the map. If we're heading towards a crate-like engine in the truck series, yes, it's going to be a good thing. But I think, this came from a Red Horse executive. He told me this past Friday, he said, Chris, I can't even pay my tire bill with what we win with these races. And if you can't even pay your tire bill, which averages roughly, $8,000 to $15,000 a truck race, then there's a problem there. And NASCAR needs to go to work because, in my opinion, this truck series is some of the best racing that we have in NASCAR right now. And it's been that way for quite some time. But if we can't find some stability to not only continue to have these power horse teams, but also have the opportunity and the atmosphere to make it appealing to welcome new owners and new drivers and even potentially new manufacturers to the series, then we've got some work to do, and we've got some work to do fast.
I'm taking the trophy of best point made yet on the podcast away from Chris Knight, and then I'm re-giving it back to Chris Knight for that one right there. A lot of stuff right there that, I'm like throwing up my arms here on the video. It's absolutely true. And it brings together, Sherwin, a lot of stuff that we talk about the truck race being the most exciting race that we see each weekend, about how, the drivers that we talk to that are saying, this is not an affordable thing to do. And just hearing about can't even pay the tire bill, Sherwin.
Well, so I'll speak on the exciting part of truck racing first, is the space that we play in, and of course we get to control our own space. So perhaps we've thrown out some of the people that would say that the Cup racing or the Xfinity racing is the most exciting thing, but the general consensus among the people that watch all three series religiously is the truck race is the best race of the weekend, no matter what track we visit. And so what I would say is, if at the bare minimum, the cost model is that if you don't finish inside the top, I don't care what you set it at, is you can't even pay your tire bill, then you probably have a broken model. Last place should be able to pay his tire bill.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, why would you show?
That's a good point. I love it. So let's get you out of here, Chris, with the strangest thing. Asher J. Stang says, we've all seen Chris singing on his Periscope. So, what is your go-to feel-good song that you like to rock out in your car on your way back from a stressful race?
Oh, man. I think it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm down for some M&M. Sometimes I'm down for some meatloaf.
Yeah. All right.
And sometimes I'm down to like some Backstreet Boys or Whitney Houston. It just depends, man. I just look. these races they're not only stressful for the teams, they're stressful for us because you're talking about a grueling schedule that we do. We travel the circuit. I'm blessed enough and fortunate enough through a lot of people that believe in me that I'm able to travel the circuit every single week, and it's not easy. So when you get out of the racetrack, and I'm an avid Sirius XM listener, and I listen to Claire B. Lang, and she does a great job for the most part with her post-race show, but sometimes it's just nice to roll down the road and decompress and just have a little fun and just remember what's really important, and sometimes that just sparks me to get on Periscope and just let loose and just have a good time and talk with the fans, because at the end of the day, if we can't sit back and enjoy and breathe 2 minutes of life, whether it's with the funny or making people laugh and smile, then I don't know what life is all about.
Man, that's a great way to sign off
what we do here
with the PETM podcast right there. Everybody stick around for a while. Me and Sherwin will still be kind of breaking down a few things, but Chris, why don't you, we know we got to let you go. So we appreciate you so much being on. Make sure everybody knows where to catch you and what you're up to next. Where can we find you?
So I'm always, you guys can always find me on Twitter at Niter01, and definitely feel free to answer questions. I'll be at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend covering Saturday's Hisense 4K TV 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then, of course, Sunday's Coca-Cola 600 for the NASCAR Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, and then we'll get some time to digest and enjoy the Indianapolis 500. So you've got some great racing coming up this weekend, and I just want to thank you guys for having me on, and definitely we got a lot of storylines to play, whether it's the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series, whether it's on or off the track. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to keep our eyes on, and we'll keep talking, and hopefully I'll be back on the show here soon, and we can talk about it.
All right, Chris
Absolutely.
Knight, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time, buddy.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, brother. Bye-bye. Oh, man. Y'all, and cheers, Sherwin. One of the biggest ways that I feel respected is when somebody, just even offhand, like Chris did, and he goes, all right, listen, I'm going to I know I told you I got to be done by blah, blah, blah time, but I'm going to extend my time a little bit because I got something important to say.
Right.
And you're like, oh, man, this guy isn't like just begging to get off the show because he hates us or anything. So that was really cool. Really cool to hear his perspectives. Fun to disagree with him. Fun to agree with him. That was awesome.
But so that's what we do, though, and we've said that over and over and over. Is we have no issues bringing somebody on that may represent an opinion that we don't share, but to be able to have a cordial conversation about it. Now, we didn't have a whole lot of contention here today, but we have had in the past. I mean, that's what we want to do because that inspires thought. It inspires productive thought and problem solving when someone says, hey, I don't agree with you, or maybe I'll take this a different vein. Did you think about it this way?
Yeah. So Ashley's saying, I told you guys he was awesome. Ashley, you're right. We met him one time, and but anyway.
Sorry to Craig, we didn't get to his question. And I think he asked something about the laser inspection system, whether Chris thought there should be more penalties. I'm tired of talking about the laser inspection system personally. And I'm not belittling the question. I'm just like, NASCAR obviously has work to do in that area, and they're going to figure it out.
Yeah. Good question though. Sherwin, I had to go get my hair cut, dude. I had the mullet.
I saw so you and our other friend Clark did like a hair evolution on Facebook. Or maybe that's not where I saw it. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I did one on Twitter. Here's the thing. I really like the mullet. Like when you put on a good trucker hat with, I'm talking like billboard on top. And a good old trucker hat.
Oh, yeah, you got the ducktail?
And I had the ducktail.
Awesome.
Oh, the ducktail looks so good. I love that.
It's good. I like it.
Now, I take off the hat. Here's what I wanted to do. Hey, and here's where I gained a lot of respect for the dudes who do the skullet, where they just have the bald.
Yeah, they're bald, but they have the long.
And I've always thought,
the
why?
Dwight Yoakam.
I've always thought, why would somebody do that? And now I think I know. Because all that crap on the top of my head was just terrible. I hated it. Oh, it was awful. But the mullet in the back, dude, that is... So I'm talking about so if I ever go male pattern on you, I'm growing out the mullet, dude. That thing, that was fun to have in the back, but
Deal.
Party up front.
I missed my
party in the back,
window
party everywhere.
to grow a real mullet. I did not recognize the opportunity I had when I was living in the ranch. I grew it out. I mean, you've probably seen that picture of me where I have it like froed out.
Yeah.
There's no hair product in there, but it's like 3 inches off my head. I missed my window there to really grow a mullet.
So I turned in my red cred. I turned in my card there because I just can't.
Red cred surrendered.
Yeah, I can't do long hair, y'all. Sorry. And
Not,
it's only because
not when it's warming up. Too,
not
sure.
in 90-degree weather in Atlanta here in mid-May. But I just had to throw that one out there. Sorry for anybody who was expecting the mullet to return. I'm sure everybody, the girls were swooning, the guys were jealous.
Oh, for sure.
What can I say?
Sure. Yeah.
It's gone. Well, gassing it up, dude, and I might as well since we're here. We'll just throw that. There it goes. All right, make it good and loud this time. We're going back to Charlotte now. I mean, we're still in Charlotte. What did we do? But the 600, man, the 600. What's it going to be?
It's always the race that I look the most forward to because I love NASCAR first and foremost as a race fan. But I think we can agree over the past 3 or 4 years that we've paid attention to it, that the middle race of the day is the best race.
Yeah.
Like, definitely if you've got the gumption, watch Monaco, pay attention to F1, know what that thing is, know whether you like it or not, know whether you dislike it. It's important as a race fan to understand why you do or don't like it.
Yep.
But that race that starts around noon,
holy crap,
that's the race.
That has been, you're right. The last 3 or 4 years has been a hell of a race. The Monaco one. I mean, we talked about it last year and the year before that, y'all. We're almost 2-year anniversary is coming up like real soon. Like might be soon. When the hell did we start this thing?
The week after the 600.
Oh crap! Okay, well,
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Next time we're together, we're gonna have to play that birthday song again.
102 will be our 2-year anniversary.
That is awesome.
Let
That's
you
so
know
cool.
that we just did miss the window of getting an episode in every week.
Yeah.
By one.
That's nuts. How cool. But we've talked about it so many times. The Monaco race. I mean, it's prestigious because of where it is, but the race itself is parade laps because.
Well, it's like we talk about with Charlotte. Their technology has advanced to the point where they can't pass at a track that's as narrow as Monaco.
Well, I was going to say
it's
that.
such like a crown jewel race that they can't not
race
it.
there. Yeah. I mean, the track is in many of the turns and stuff is like 2.5 car lengths wide. So no, you're not going to get a pass. So. You expect,
or it's so fast that there's no outbraking to be done.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that IndyCar race, man, that's been the crown jewel. And I really want the 600 to be that. We talked about it with Chris Knight. Not sure if that's going to happen with this configuration at Charlotte with this stuff. But who knows?
Hey, maybe with VHT boogers.
Yeah, get the boogers up top.
Get 2 lines in. If we can get 2 lines in, we can have a good race.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's what we have in Atlanta at a similar type of track. You can have guys run on the top, you can have guys run on the bottom, and there are certain drivers who want to run each of those.
Yeah.
And so you get a little bit better race there. So maybe putting the boogers up there will do something.
Well, I sure hope so. I mean, you can always hope so. Again, as Chris said, A for effort. Let's hope the execution's a little bit better than what we saw in the All-Star race.
Yep. It brings us to picks, dude. And I have not been paying enough attention to bring this up fast enough. But I'm just going to sit here and kind of dance around a little bit and see, where did my picks guy go? The picks guy should be right here. Here he is. I just found him. Bring him. All right. It's our picks guy. I've tried to find that guy, by the way. I know I say this probably every 3 to 4 months, but I continue to try to find that guy and be like, dude, can you be on the podcast and just kind of give us that?
Just do it again live.
Just do it one more time. Anyway.
Through our mixing board.
I have no idea Who the hell did I? Oh, I picked Junior. Sherwin, who'd you pick?
Brad.
All-Star. Brad. You had to do better than I did, didn't you?
I don't know. I was trying to pull it up.
You're trying to pull it up. Now I got to dance again.
Well, no. I mean,
this is how
struggling
unprofessional.
on internet volume here.
Oh,
hard.
bummer. Well, we've got a lot of going up, a lot of going down. Well, let me let you pick. Let's do that. You tell me.
Just let me pick.
Yep, do it.
Yeah, I think this is a Jimmy Johnson kind of race. People aren't expecting him to do well in a race like this.
Do you think so? That's what's weird. Like, I would not be surprised if he won it, but maybe you're right in that nobody's picking him. It's weird. He's already won, so he's got what he's got going for him. I mean, Charlotte is. I mean, that's his thing. You know,
it used to be.
Used to be. Sure.
It's necessarily not that now. He won 3 600s in a row.
Yeah.
Before we changed cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just picking Jimmy just to be picking Jimmy. This is there's no studying having been done here.
Right.
They were not slow in the 400. Maybe I'm using some of what Junior said today in his podcast. He said, we're going to take Jimmy's setup and put it in ours just so we at least have somebody else for feedback from. He said, but we're taking Jimmy's setup from the All-Star race. He's like, they drove up from like 10th to 4th. They weren't a contender, but they weren't slow either. And he's like, but when they show up at the 600, they're going to have a different car already.
Yeah.
Like Chad's already going to have made changes.
Yeah.
He said, so I'm going to have to like bounce ideas off Jimmy about what his All-Star race car was.
What the changes, yeah.
Because they were 4/10 off. Like Junior was really slow at the All-Star race.
4/10 is a lot.
But to hear him
anywhere.
talk about that really sort of charismatically, candidly, that they were slow, and they were so slow that even though Jimmy and Junior like to drive a car that's very different, he's just going to take Jimmy's setup and see what happens.
Yeah. So I can't help myself, dude. This is so hard that I can't help myself to pick Casey Kane. Why would I not pick Casey Kane in the 600, the grand comeback?
He's the only
whatever.
other active driver with 3 600 wins.
That's what I mean.
We forget that because it's been a little bit more sporadic. He hasn't won 83 times like Jimmy has.
Yeah. But the wins that he's got him in
4
Charlotte.
at Charlotte, and 3 of them are the 600, and he's also won an All-Star race.
Mm-hmm. So what can you say? I mean, I keep, maybe it's because he's going to be 63 years old running Morgan Shepherd cars, and I'm going to be picking him. You remember he used to win over at Charlotte.
Well, we done learn roller skates.
We'll have 0 followers by then. We'll be talking into microphones that aren't even hooked up to anything.
We'll transition back to dumb phones at that point.
Yeah, why not? Among other things. So there's our pick. Sherwin, you've got some tipping glasses here. We got to raise our glasses.
We got 2 pretty serious moments here. We had a very serious moment last week, which sucked.
Yep.
Confirmed Chris Cornell did take his own life. That sucks. This week we had Nikki Hayden get in a bicycle accident in Italy. He was struck by a car and ultimately succumbed to his injuries. They call him the Kentucky Kid. He's my age. He was due to turn 36 in July, right around the same time you turned 35.
Yeah.
He was the consummate champion. He was super well respected for his skills as a motorcycle driver and as a person. So we'll tip to him. His life ended shortly. Roger Moore, dead at 89. James Bond lived a good life.
Yeah.
So we'll have a sip to both of these cats.
That's what we're gonna do.
Equally badass in their own vein.
Quick shout out too in Indy. I mean, spanning all these series, all these things going on. It's Sebastian Bourdais. Yeah. Looks like he's in good spirits. He knows he's going to recover.
He's already been standing up, which is very positive.
I've seen the stand-up, the walker. He's got his crew around him and stuff. He's been so positive. He knows it's going to happen. So that's encouraging news after some pretty hefty oh crap, what's going to happen? And shoot, we haven't even talked about. Did we talk about Allmendinger?
You mean Almirola?
Almirola. Jesus, I've been drinking. We talked about Almirola.
No, well, we did. I think we did. We touch on it last week.
Did we last week?
Not?
I can't even remember.
That was.
Can't even remember.
Yeah. So it looks like obviously Regan Smith was in the car this past weekend. I don't know that they've announced anybody else. I do know that Bubba Wallace
Bubba's been kind of like
sent a tweet and said, "How about put me in that damn Cup car?" Which is what we said we would want. And I understand the sponsor may struggle with that. Look, the exposure you're going to get from Bubba and what he's willing to do in terms of appearances is going to more than make up for if he has bad finishes. Mm-hmm. That's just bottom line. And they've already bought commercials, so they're going to get exposure during the race anyway.
Yep.
And these are all products that we buy anyway. I buy Smithfield bacon all the time.
Sure. I'll buy more Smithfield
I will buy more Smithfield bacon.
Sherwin, you got some shout-outs for us before we close this thing out.
Yeah, so in an effort to support the people that are doing the things that we think are awesome, fans and or aspiring journalists doing podcasts, I rumbled across one just like a night and a half ago.
Okay.
Called the Bump and Run Podcast.
The Bump and Run Podcast
with Tanner, Adam, Kristen, and Kayla. If you go to @the BNR Podcast Twitter handle, you can get all of their Twitter handles, and we would express the positive feeling of do that.
Yeah,
they seem like they're having fun with it. It's 4 people on the phone. They're going to get better. Get better as a listener while they get better as podcasters, because we need more NASCAR content.
Yeah,
especially as fans, because I think they're all aspiring journalists or are aspiring team members or whatever. They're all NASCAR people or wannabe NASCAR people. And so I actually
I'm not calling them wannabes. Just
well, I tell you what, their first episode was way better than ours, so I'll give them credit there. So,
it don't take much. I mean, you can have somebody doing something.
I think we got better pretty quickly once we realized that we had some equipment issues and location was important and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, so go follow @the BNR Podcast. They put out their very first episode last week after Kansas.
Awesome. That's so good. Congrats on the new episode. Congrats on the podcast. Hope y'all keep going. That's a whole lot of fun. Sherwin, next week is one of our rare weeks.
Hiatus week?
Hiatus week for Rusty. I'm going to be, y'all know me. I go hiking, doing something crazy.
Where are you going to go?
Going to Zion National Park.
Utah?
Yep, Utah.
In the hizzy?
I'm doing
Where are you flying into?
Vegas, baby. Vegas.
That's cool. Who's out in Vegas that we know?
Tommy Joe Martins happens to be out there. I've actually already contacted him. He said, yeah, let me know. I get off work at 5 and I'll do whatever. So I was like,
that's awesome.
Crap. Now it's on me. But yeah, that's tomorrow. I'm leaving for that. So that'll be a blast. As usual, my coworkers were going, hey, when do you get back? And I said, either June 5th or never. And I always say it with a straight face. I'll be back either June 5th or never. And they go, what's the never? I'm like, well, I would have fallen off a cliff or something, because we do wacko hiking, y'all.
Get it to the edge.
You shouldn't do this kind of hiking. And we're doing it again. So off we go.
Sweet.
Should be fun. Sherwin, what are you going to be doing next weekend? Or next week?
So while PETM is going to be taking a week off, 102 won't be until week of June 4.
Yep.
I am not taking a week off.
Oh, what you going to do?
I will be joining the Lap Traffic podcast with Brandon and Tony.
Holy crap on a pita.
Yeah. So those guys, we're going to be talking some NASCAR just like you and I would.
That's awesome.
But it's going to be with the Detroit Motor City spin.
You know what's cool is I've got by the time that gets posted, I'm going to have like a 5-hour drive between 2 of the parks or something. And I'm going to put it on repeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it multiple times.
So I hope
that's so cool.
I gotta elevate my game.
Yes,
if I'm
sir.
going to be a guest.
Yeah.
I've never been a guest on a podcast. Actually, that's not true.
Oh, you did have the one.
I was a guest on the 680 The Fan podcast that one time. It was a call-in deal.
So throw it down. Y'all, next week, and next week only, do not listen to PETM.
That's right.
Because we won't be here. But go out. Make sure y'all are following Lap Traffic Podcast. I know they record beforehand and post it afterwards. So
they're actually recording right now.
Oh, excellent.
They probably
okay.
just finished, actually.
Okay, well, good for them. That's awesome.
They had Ricky Stenhouse's spotter tonight.
Oh, that's badass.
Mike
Love
Herman Jr., I think is his name.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. I love it. Especially with his recent
win at
success.
Talladega.
Yeah, baby. So that's
Making
awesome.
out with Danica in Victory Lane.
Hello. Well, y'all, this has been a blast. Y'all are going to see PTM Podcast back in 2 weeks, but you're going to see Sherwin back in 1 week as usual, on the Lap Traffic Podcast. Y'all be sure to go follow them at Lap Traffic PC. You know where to follow us at PTM Podcast. And as usual, I'm Tailgate Mayor at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm Sherwin, but you'll notice I've finally have taken notice of the fact that Twitter doesn't count your name as characters anymore. So I did change my official Twitter handle to Pregame Engineer.
Oh, there you go. Well done.
Added a couple characters.
All right, y'all. We're going to see y'all next week. Thank you, Chris Knight, for joining us. It's been so cool. We've met him once before, or a couple times before, and now finally got to have him on the podcast. So cool to have these guys come on. Very nice. And he won 2 awards tonight for your best points. Good stuff. We'll talk to y'all in a couple weeks.
Woo! Thumbs up.
All right, y'all. How cool was that? Chris Knight, man.
Whoop, whoop.
Chris Knight. I didn't realize he was like our exact age too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
This guy's been younger lately.
I know, right? Well,
Gluck's he's a year older than me, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Weaver's like 4 or 5 years younger than us.
He's like 29.
Oh man, remember the 20s? Jeez. And yeah. Why isn't he drinking something alcoholic every?
I think he has family.
No. I'm not trying to. Yeah. I'm just joking. Having fun. Y'all are the best. PTM Posse. Thank you so much for joining us, as usual. But it's not that we take that for granted at all. So, thank you so much. Thank you for the Patreon sponsors. Everybody as usual.
Well, thanks so much for adjusting your schedules, moving it up almost an
Moved
hour.
it up an hour? Yeah, we'd be like 14 minutes into an episode right now if Sherwin, depending on if Sherwin showed up on time.
Well, that's true. That was
good time.
That was the one time.
Oh man! All right, y'all. We've had a blast. Thank you, Chris Knight. Let's close this thing out. Sherwin, anything last thing to say?
I can't wait to watch 1,360 miles of racing on Sunday.
Holy crap! We'll talk to y'all. I do that thinking we'll talk to y'all next week. Do my thing or whatever.
No, we won't.
I will
talk to y'all with Brandon and Tony.
That'll be awesome. I'm so looking forward to seeing that. We'll see y'all next time in a couple weeks from now. Y'all stay awesome.
We lit.